Saya rasa terlibat ni sangat membantu sebab kita first time join President Cup. So banyak benda yang kita kena belajar. So kita dengan adanya terlibat ni we have learned a lot lah. So banyak benda yang kita kena buat. So hopefully ini boleh membantu lah. Sangat membantu.
Berkenaan dengan peraturan-peraturan baru tu kami cuba accept lah sebab ni pun pertama kali. Jadi bagi kami akan cuba follow apa yang diperlukan. Sedia maklum kami tim baru, bajet pun under control dan dengan buat zon-zon tu bagus untuk kami lah, tim-tim baru kelab yang boleh mengurangkan kos. Itu aja.
Bagi kami ini merupakan, kalau untuk Piala Bilik tahun ketiga, selepas tahun kedua kami terlibat dengan pertandingan ini. Bagi kami, pihak AMD melihat ini merupakan peluang platform kepada pemain-pemain ini untuk lebih meningkatkan prestasi mereka dan persiapan mereka untuk peringkat kebangsaan. Bagi kami menang kalah bukanlah itu nilai utama yang kita lihat. Yang kita lihat adalah perkembangan positif pada individu-individu.
Pasukan Sabah ia adalah satu kebaikan juga daripada dapat menjimatkan kos. Contoh macam kalau sebelum ni kita main dekat Terengganu ataupun dekat Kelantan, mungkin flight tu bertambah lah, macam ada connection ke KL, ke KL kena pergi ke Kelantan. Tapi yang format yang diperkenalkan pada tahun ni, Sabah mungkin paling jauh main dekat KL ataupun dekat Kuching. Di situ dapat menjembat kos.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good afternoon to everyone who are viewing this webinar here today. Following the success of the first two series of webinar, which was held in June 2020, Football Association of Malaysia is moving forward with many more series of webinar. As we all know, football is guided fully by the laws of the game. Contradictory to the general perception that the laws of the game is strictly a refereeing matter, the law is also a document that provides an important guidance to the running of the competitions based on how it's organized, which also leads to the establishment of the competition rules, competition manual, match operations, and whatnot. With that said, there are many elements within the laws that allows the competition rules to further determine the way of moving forward. However, with the implementation and the enforcement of all these provisions, with the law may vary from one organizer to another, and with the matches being broadcast regularly on television or on any popular online platform, it has somehow caused confusion to the understanding and the law and the rules, especially amongst the general public. This is exactly what today's webinar will be focusing on, application of the laws of the game in the competition rules. And with the participation of well-experienced international football administrator that come to form the match commissioner of FIFA and AFC, as well as the director of referees, and balanced with the opinion and views from the coaching expert, we are going to deliberate further over all these subjects with the hope that it will provide clarity to those who are following us on this webinar. Gentlemen, to deliberate on a topic such as this requires an honest and direct opinion, explanations, and guidance by someone who has the right competition's knowledge, and of course, equally equipped with domestic and international football experience. We are very fortunate indeed, as our panelists today are amongst those with the aforementioned criteria. So without further ado, allow me to introduce our group of panelists today. Let us start with the first panel, Mr. Brian C. Brian is the head of competition strategy of the Asian Football Confederation. He's also a FIFA match commissioner. He has a vast experience in terms of match organization. He has been part of the AFC Asian Cup from year 2011 to 2019, FIFA Under-20 World Cup 2013 to 2015, FIFA Club World Cup UAE 2017, and all the regional games such as Asian Games, football event, and Southeast Asian football event. Our second panel today is none other than Mr. Talal. Mr. Talal is a friend of us from Jordan. He is currently an advisor on competition-related matters with the Jordan Football Association. He's also a FIFA and AFC Match Commissioner and AFC General Coordinator. He has been involved in the top flight football competition globally. He was there in Russia for the FIFA Confederation Cup in 2017. He has managed 2 AFC Champions League final in 2014 as well as 2017, FC Cup final in 2018, and of course FC Asian Cup UAE 2019. Our third panelist today is none other than Colonel Goutam. He is a former referee himself, currently serves as a director of referees for Bhutan Football Federation. Previously, he was a director of referees for All India Football Association Federation. He's also the FIFA and AFC Match Commissioner for the past 20 years. Right? He's also a former member of AFC Referees Committee. Our third panelist today is Mr. Jeff Park Seongkyun. Jeff is one of the most promising match commissioner at FC level. He is currently the head of the football operation for K-League, head of club licensing administration. Just like the 3 other panelists, he's also the FIFA and AFC Match Commissioner and World Cup Local Organizing Committee Coordinator. Our fifth panelist happened to be someone with a different credential, Datuk Ong Kim Swee, Head of Youth Unit for Football Association of Malaysia. He has been a Malaysian football coach and a former professional football player himself. He won the gold medal for Malaysia as a coach in the Southeast Asia Games in 2010, won the FA Cup, Malaysia FA Cup, as well as M-League for Sabah in year 1995 and 1996 as a football player. And our last panelist today is none other than Mr. Wahid Hamid, a former referee himself, and currently serves as a MFL Match Commissioner since 2014, a former FAM referee assessor from 1997 to 2013, and his wide experience in terms of refereeing as well as match organization. Gentlemen, it is a great honor for Malaysian football to have your presence here today. Welcome, selamat datang, Yosio Osipsio, Ahlan Bik, and Swagat Hey. My dear colleagues and friends, we are fully aware that there are quite a number of provisions within the laws of the game that requires or allow further decisions to be taken by the competition rules. This is a fact. We all understand this. Unlike the laws of the game, which carries the status of being the sole regulatory document that universally binds all football matches, the competition rules only act and govern the respective competitions. The competition rules can and may be different from one competition to another, and of course, it has its limitation in terms of authority. It needs to be supported by other regulations such as disciplinary and whatnot. Today's discussion will focus solely to the certain provision within the laws of the game, with full concentration over selected laws. That is Law 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7, 7 and 10. And for the purpose of clarity, today's discussion will be based entirely on the latest edition of the laws of the game, which was passed recently by the International Football Association Board. On that note, gentlemen, let us start with our big webinar today. Our first topic will touch on the Law 3, titled The Players. Sub-article number of substitutions. What you can see on the screen currently is the exact provision of the laws of the game. But our concentration will be on the 2 bullet points. Where it says the competition rules must state how many substitutes may be named, from 3 to a maximum of 12. The second point is whether one additional substitute may be used when a match goes into extra time. Now we move to the second slide. If you look at the content of the second slide, this is exactly what has been implemented in most places by the competition organizer. If you look at the ASEAN Football Federation Suzuki Cup, this is a mini World Cup tournament involving countries within the Southeast Asia region. It allowed named substitute to be 12. FC Cup and FC Champions League, a maximum of 7, and FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 preliminary competition, 12. As for the second provision under the law, the option to go for the extra substitute during the extra time playing period was not implemented by every organizer. Some will follow this and implement it, some will not. In the case of Suzuki Cup, Malaysia Cup, Malaysia FA Cup, just to name a few, it was not practiced at all. Now, let us invite our speakers to deliberate further on this topic. The first speaker will be Mr. Brian C. Brian, club competition and national team competition by FC. You have a club competition that is the FC Cup as well as the FC Champions League, and national team competition be the FC Asian Cups, FC under 23, under 19, under 16, applying 2 different regulations when it comes to the number of the named substitutes. What was the consideration behind these differences? Is there any plan to standardize the number of the named substitutes in the near future by FC? Please, Brian, you don't mind to deliberate further on this.
Okay, thank you, Abang Zul. A very good afternoon, Abang Zul, fellow panelists, and all viewers. First of all, on behalf of the AFC, I would like to thank the Football Associations of Malaysia for hosting this webinar discussing the applications of laws of the games in the competition regulations. We are looking forward for a fruitful exchange of information and opinion today. The question posted is, what was the considerations behind the difference in terms of number of substitutes in club competitions and national team? Yes, this has been the way since long time. Where national teams and club competitions, we have different number of registered players for a match. In all national teams competitions, we allow each team to register a maximum of 23 players, which means we have 11 starting players and 12 substitutes for each match. And for club competitions like the AFC Cup and also the AFC Champions League, we allow each club to register a maximum of 18 players, which is the 11 starting players and 7 substitutes. So looking at the table, the Suzuki Cup, the AFF Suzuki Cup, and the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 preliminary joint qualifications, both are national team competitions, which means we have 12 substitutes players. And for the AFC Cup Champions League, there are only 7 substitutes. So what are the considerations for these differences? One point that we need to be aware is, for FIFA World Cup qualifications and for AFC Cup, AFC Asian Cup qualifications, there is unlimited registrations of players. So when we open the window, it's unlimited for each participating member associations to register, which means each team can register 50, 100, or even 200 players for the competitions during the registration window. If I'm not mistaken, I think AFF Suzuki Cup, they allow to register up to a maximum of 50 players. But on the other hand, for AFC Cup and ACL, AFC Champions League, each club can only register up to 30 players during each registration window. So we can see a difference here. For club competitions, each team can only register up to 30 players. For national team, it's unlimited. So since only 3 substitutions can be made in most of the official competitions, it is deemed 7 substitute is acceptable for club competitions. We have checked for UEFA Champions League, CONCACAF Champions League, CAF Champions League, and OFC Champions League. They are also using 7 substitutes for each match. Only the CONMEBOL Copa Libertadores allow up to 12 substitute players. So club competitions and national tier team 1 competitions is a very different ball game. The national team comprised of the best from the league players. Thus, special attention will be given to this event. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we allow more players to be registered. And the frequency of national team matches and also club competition matches in a calendar year also different. If you look at the calendar, each club will play average of 30 to 60 matches in each calendar year. But for national team, I believe the average is only 8 to 10 matches. This could be one of the key reasons why national team has more registered players compared to club competitions. It gives the coaches more variety of players in terms of tactical. So that's the reason why we have a different set of substitutes when it comes to national team and clubs. Okay, back to you, Abang.
Thank you, Brian. Now we're going to hear what the coaching expert will have to say about it. Datuk, you have heard what the brief info with regards to the topic, and you have also listened to what Brian have said. So basically, Datuk, as a seasoned coach, do you think the number of named substitutes really have an impact in your technical plan? If it goes your way, what would be the ideal number of the named substitute? 7, 8, 10, 12, you know? And okay, let me pose you this question first before I move further to the next question. Datuk, sila.
Right, thank you, Abang. Hello, everyone. And definitely, if you ask me in terms of coaching aspect about players registration, every coach, I believe, wants to have 12 substitution players or in the start list, where it gives us a lot of options. And sometimes we do have to consider when we travel. Example, if we are traveling to other countries and we just bring 18 players, and what happened during a training, there's 1 or 2 players that is injured. So in that case, we will only have 16 or 17 players left in the squad, and that might cause a little bit of problem where if we have 7 substitutions player, normally we will bring every position, or sometimes we need to bring a player that can play in 1 or 2 positions. So it's kind of not a big issue, but it might happen sometimes where we lack of players whenever we travel, and 1 or 2 of them got injured after being there.
Okay, Datuk. Now, if I move to the next question, just for you, Datuk. Datuk, in your opinion, do you seriously believe, right, the extra substitute during the extra time should be considered by all major competitions? You know, this has first been launched by FIFA in the last World Cup in Russia, where the teams been given the permission to have one additional substitute during the extra time. Do you think this should be applied and should be accepted by all competitions organizer?
Yeah, I believe it's a good move by FIFA. You know that when in a big tournament where you play every 3 days, where you need a good recovery, and of course with the extra 1 player that you have during the extra time, definitely will help in the team, especially in terms of tacticals.
All right, thank you, Datuk. Anything you want to add on to that, Datuk? Tak ada. That's it. All right, now, gentlemen, I think we have concluded the first topic. We have heard what being said by Brian, and also we received an honest opinion, I believe, from Datuk Ong as a coach. Moving to the next topic, topic number 2. Still on the same law 3, the players. Now we'll be focusing into sub-article 5 under offences and sanctions. Right, gentlemen. The first 3 bullet points that are being shown here on the slide will be given focus. All right. In the event a named substitute starts a match instead of a named player, and the referee is not informed of this change, the first bullet says that the referee allows the named substitute to continue playing. The second part, it says no disciplinary action may be taken against the named substitute. And the third provision, it clearly says the named player can become a named substitute. So in other words, what the law is trying to say here is that if a team registered a player in a team list comprises of 11 starting player and 7 named substitute. So number 1 until number 11 are registered as the named player, 12 and 18 as a named substitute. But somehow or other, when the match started, the referee only found out that the team actually played 1 until 10, but the number 11 is not playing at all. But instead, number 12, who's been initially registered as a named substitute, now occupied the place of player number 11. The laws allowed this entirely, and no disciplinary action may be taken against the named substitute. This happened, this law particularly touched on the situation where the match has already started. Now let us look into the second slide. This is the facts that has been applied globally by the competition rules. All right. Today, the competition rules normally allow changes to be made on the team list or team starting list, as we fondly call it, prior to the commencement of the match, so long as the replacement comes amongst the named substitute. However, the current practice will see the replaced player is added. This is the case here. The only difference between the provision of the competition rules is on the status of the replaced player. The first provision that's being applied is that replaced player will still be allowed to be named as a substitute. The second provision by a different organizer will say something else. It says changes can be made, but the players who's being replaced will no longer be eligible to be part of the match. Gentlemen, before we go into our discussion further, let us look at a possible scenario if the second procedure comes into force. That is where the replaced player shall no longer be eligible to be part of the match. If any team has to replace their key player, say the player got himself a minor injury during the warming up session prior to the match, and yet for tactical reason, I'm pretty sure Datuk Ong is not the type of person who will do this, but you never know, he will in the near future. Could still be, for tactical reason, the coach may want the replaced player to still be part of the match. If he seeks for permission or giving his notification to the match official prior to the match, chances are the player that being replaced will no longer be eligible to be part of the match. So will there be any chance, that this particular team will opt straight away into the laws of the game and make changes without prior notification to any match officials in order to exercise the right as provided for by the Law 3? This will be our main focus of discussion today. Let us start with my brother from Kelly, Jeff, the promising future star. Jeff, welcome. All right, Jeff, if we look at the third procedure, all right, the third procedure of the sub-article 5 of the Law 3, the term can become is used. So depending on how you interpret it, can become is used can be optional, it can be mandatory, depending on how you look at it, which allows the competition rules to either fully adopt or otherwise. Now, in your opinion,
thank you, Abang.
On this, yeah.
Okay,
Jeff.
thank you, Abang. Okay, thank you for having me on this webinar. I hope this platform would be the good opportunity with each other to exchange our views, experience, and knowledge. Okay, I have reviewed this on the laws of the game, and I found out that in the version of 2015 and 16, there is no term for can become, not what we are talking about. It just appeared from 2016 and 17 version for the first time. Before answering and express my opinion, frankly, it has never been happened in K-League 38 years history. And I have checked with the KFA. What about the in tournament amateur level? However, not anymore recent 10 years, more than 10 years. Therefore, even though it is stated in the laws of the game, K-League competition rules doesn't include that part for the league matches, unfortunately. So, however, I have a consultation with the K-League Technical Committee Chairman and Competition Manager. They said that, also my opinion is the same, they said that if it happens in the tournament in K-League, we might not allow him to be named as a substitute. And no reducing the number of the substitution. The reason is that when we submit the start list, we in K-League, we also submit team's tactical formation for media and for broadcasting. It is kind of social commitment. And with this formation, each team can predict the technical plans for the game. So, in order to prevent malicious purpose to make opponent team confusing, even though we don't have clear rules on it now, however, we will add this rule to next year, not allowing to be substitution as the minimum penalty element, and the number of substitution is kept with no reducing for the purpose of fair play. Other things fall on disciplinary committee upon referee's report and investigation by the administration. The reason why the club did it.
All right.
Okay, this
Thank
is
you,
my opinion for it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, glad to hear something different from you. Okay, of course, we being the tournament organizer, right? You and me, we are more or less the same. But we'd like to hear it from a different angle. Perhaps Goutam. Sir, you are the only panel who have enjoyed both worlds when it comes to football. You happen to be former referee yourself, and now you are the FIFA and AFC match commissioner. So you'll be able to see things from both angles, unlike the rest of us. Obviously, there is not many of the competition rules that have given much focus on this sort of possible scenario, even though it never happened, but that doesn't mean it will never happen, as stipulated under the third procedure of the sub-article 5 of the laws 3. When, in your opinion, I just want to hear what you have to say on this. When the team decided to do exactly just that, all right, knowing that no disciplinary action could be taken against the named substitute, that will surely be something, all right? So in your opinion, sir, what is the best way to go about it? I hand over to you, panel.
Well, thank you, Abang, and the viewers. If you see the laws of the game from that angle, the word used is can become. Can mean it is the right or conferred on the team to decide whether this player goes out of the substitution list or he still remains in the substitution list. Because coach has his own priorities, he may decide to use the player after a little bit of injury and after treatment of that injury to play him in the second half. So it depends on the coach. That's from the coach's perspective. But if you come to the wording and the interpretation of the laws of the game, it will be treated like this, that the player is made immune from the referee's action during that match. But still, the referee is required to report it to the organizer. So he's still under administrative decision, but it's on a later part. But for this match, no action can be taken against him. You know, as you said, that the player who is now going as a substitute, and from substitution one player is coming up. That I think is a fair opportunity for the teams. And though regulation operation manual regulation 27.4.4 debars him from taking further part in the match, and though he can still sit on the substitution bench, but he cannot take further part in the match. I think from my point of view, I'll go by the game, where it says that he can become a regular player. It means he can, the player who is coming from substitution list can become a player, and the player from who is slightly injured or for whatever reason can still go to the substitution. Yeah, the part what is the most gray area is that coaches, since they know the regulation now, they will certainly not inform the match commissioner. Who will take this trouble of informing the match commissioner and losing this player at a later part of the game? So in my view, it is the team's prerogative to decide that whether he should be in the substitution list or not.
Okay.
Thank you, Abang.
Thank you, Colonel. A very good explanation indeed from you. Of course, as we discussed earlier, Brian will have to sum up all this discussion. But Brian, before I go straight to you, let me just see what Datuk Ong will have to say on this. Datuk.
Yeah, I think I agree that if the first 11 players that is injured or taken out before the kick-off, they shouldn't be allowed to be in the match for the entire game. Where I believe that even now, certain teams, certain coaches, they will take this advantage where they will name any players that they want, but before kick-off, then they change to another set of players. So it might involve tacticals, yeah. And for me, it won't be fair where after naming your first 11 players 45 minutes before, 90 minutes before the game, and suddenly 2 minutes before the kickoff, you change another 4 or 5 players. With the action taken right now, or the law that saying if you make a changes to any first 11 players, they shouldn't be in the bench. That's my point.
All right.
That's my view, Abang Zul.
Yeah, thank you, Dato'. I expect a different views from you entirely, to tell you the truth. You know. Okay, right. I'm pretty sure when we set up the competition rules, you know, the idea to prohibit or to not to allow the replaced name player as a name substitute is to discourage the team from making changes. I believe that could have been the reason behind it. I may be right, I may be wrong. Then again, Talal, you be prepared, sir. You don't have to say anything right now. I will come back to you later on. Let us hear what Brian will have to say about this. Brian, hand over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Abang. I mean, indeed, this is a very popular question for discussion. So, the third procedure mentioned, the named player can become a name substitute. The word they use is can become. It didn't say it will become. So, our opinion is, and it also didn't mention that the name substitute is eligible to participate or not. If you look at the laws of the games, it never mentioned the name substitute can take part or cannot take part further in the match. We must understand the structure of laws of the games always refer to competitions regulations in several sections. So, and the laws of the games also cover football for all levels. for youth level, for grassroots, for senior, for clubs, and so on. So maybe this is one of the reasons why the loss of the games, it opened the opportunity for certain competitions where this player can take part later. But when we come to the competitions regulation, this is very specific to this one competitions. I think in most of the professional league competitions, Division 1, Division 2, and also national teams, it is clearly mentioned if the named player injured and replaced before the start of the match, he will no longer eligible for the match. I mean, for fair play reasons and so on. And for A national teams matches and top tier professional leagues, everything is so much strictly controlled and organized. When the teams registered or enter the competitions, they sign up the contract, the PTA, participating team agreement, to comply fully with the competitions regulations. I think these cases where players, they just quietly swap without informing us, it may happen only to amateur leagues or very low level competitions. Again, like Jeff Park mentioned earlier, this incident has never happened in AFC competition. And on operation side, before both teams go into the pitch, the referees, they always will check with the start list and the players, the 11 players of each team, to make sure the starting 11 are the one who are lining up, going for the march in. Once they march in, when all the players are outside, we have the match commissioner, we have the general coordinators, we have the fourth officials. We can see if there's any changes of the players, anyone swap positions. I think we can easily monitor that because we have enough people to see. So, okay, Bang, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Brian. Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. We, of course, we have concluded the second topic. Now we are moving to the next one. Now I'm going to touch on the law 7. That is the duration of the match. Talal, this will be your turn. Okay, but hold on. Now let us look into what being said by the laws of the game. If we look at the sub-article 5 of the law 7, titled abandoned match, it being said clearly here, an abandoned match is replayed unless the competition rules or organizers determine otherwise. So the laws has provided authority to the competition rules to make decision with regards to an abandoned match. So the procedures, the application, the protocols, and how to go about it will have to be further determined by the competition rules. That will be exactly our reference today. Now we move to the second slide of the topic 3. Gentlemen, what is shown here is the exact provision by the AFC Competitions Operation Manual version 2 for 2019. Am I right, Brian? So Article 8.2 of the Competition Operation Manual says all this. These are the steps that has to be taken in the event the match is abandoned. All right. And of course, before we go any further into this, for the sake of the viewers, I think I have to go back to to explain further on the correct terms of our discussion. Cancellation match is actually a match that's been cancelled before it could even start. And the abandoned match is actually a match that have already started, but for whatever reason, it cannot continue anymore. And that's the reason why the match is called abandoned match. Now, be mindful, this exact provision has been adopted and practiced by most competitions in Asia. Move to the next slide, please. Now, this is the question. Talal, being the first speaker. Okay, to have the match continue from the minute it was abandoned is generally accepted. You're fully aware of that. I'm fully aware of that. Everybody is. However, to maintain the same set of player, this is the catch. If you have to continue the match from the minute it was stopped, was abandoned, then you must play it with the same set of player and all the provision as stated under the rules of competitions. But this could be quite challenging to ensure that the same set of player will be playing in the resume match. Okay, this could be easily managed if it is sort of like a centralized competition where every team will be there. You have a race day the following day. You can utilize that here and there. But if the match being played like a normal league system, being played over home and away, this could be an issue. The issue may arises from the unavailability of the venues. The match that been played at this venue tonight, the venue might no longer be available tomorrow because not every club in Asia own the venue. So probably most of them have to rent the venue from the stadium authority. That could be one possibility. The second possibility happens, I've seen it with my own eyes, even during the World Cup qualifier. The team that finished the game that evening will catch a flight in a matter of 2 hours. So if such an incident happens and they are scheduled to fly back right after the game, that could also cause a problem. All right. So do you think there is any way to go about such an issue? Talal.
Terima kasih, Abang. Hello and greetings to everyone. It is indeed an honor to be among my colleagues, the panelists, and in the prestigious webinar organized by FAM. Having said that, and without any further ado, please allow me to elaborate more. If we look into the last point in the criteria, any other matters not set out above shall be decided by the AFC in its sole discretion. As such, the teams actually will have the choice to inform the Confederation or the MA on any related concerns. Consequently, this will lead to the point exactly before it. The kickoff time, date, and stadium of the rescheduled match shall be decided by the AFC or in the local league by the MA. Any national team or club prior to entering any competition, as Mr. Bryan said, have signed the PTA, which is the abbreviation of Participating Team Agreement. As such, the unforeseen circumstances actually might face all teams, for sure, not only one. On the other hand, any other details can be changed, such as return flights. I refer to AFC regulations. There is a stipulation in all regulations that full fare tickets should be purchased by the participating teams. I can elaborate more in this regard because I have a travel booking courses. The full fare actually is kind of tickets which is more expensive than the normal one, but which gives priority for the teams to change in case of any emergency. Moving forward to the next factor, which you just mentioned about venue readiness. As we all know, arrival should be match day -2 or 3 and departure 1 day after the match. Basically, if we look at the match schedule, the proper scheduling, we have the match played in 2 consequent days, which shouldn't be a problem. As such, if the venue is not ready or busy with another match, here we are already covered that any other matters not set out above shall be decided by the AFC or MA in its sole discretion. Just a heads up, before admission of this criteria, the abandoned match was to be played in full. I believe all of us here agree that fairness with the current criteria is guaranteed more, especially if the reason was a force majeure, which is not fault of any of the teams.
Yeah.
Back to you, Abang.
Okay, thank you, Talal. All right. So, in other words, you're quite agreed with me if I said to you that the abundant match, if possible, will have to be played the day after, as soon as possible.
Yes. Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
otherwise, it will be quite challenging and quite difficult to maintain the same set of player if the abundant match, the resume match, we have to play a month from now.
Exactly.
What we're trying to say here is that to have such a provision within the rules of competition would be good, would be great. But I'm pretty sure there must be some other ways to go about it. Perhaps to have some specific provisions so that everybody will be fully aware the possibility if such a thing happen. What will be the next step, rather than have to wait for the committee to make a decision and whatnot. But of course, there's no denying at the end of the day, there's the only way to solve the problems. All right, let us here get a second opinion from another member of the panelists, Abdul Wahid Hamid. Wahid, selamat datang Wahid.
Yes.
You are the only local match commissioner around here today, you know, and you are competing against those international match commissioner. All right. I'm pretty sure this has been quite a common thing to you. Okay, when you officiate a game at the M League level, M League is the actually just like K League, Jeff. You know, in Malaysia we call it M League. M League, there have been cases where the match has been stopped due to reasons beyond control, force majeure. So, you know, the match has been abandoned and it has to be played at the day after. And we have been facing a lot of issues, you know. Then the match cannot be played the day after, it had to be played the following week. And in between now and the following week, the team will have to play in the match with any other teams, you know. And then you're trying to maintain the same set of players could be an issue, right? So do you think the current procedure that we have, I'm not talking about FC, I'm talking about the general practices that are being applied, you know, by us, purely based on our understanding, is sufficient to cater and to solve all these issues? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Abang. And hi, everybody. I would like to share one experience about almost 3 years ago. At the beginning of the league, the game started for 10 minutes and they cannot continue because of the very heavy rain. The field become unplayable. Players cannot play a good match. In fact, all team agreed, the players, the referee, the coach agree that game has to be stopped. Okay, and then we made that decision, stop the game, abandon the game, and as a match commissioner, I have to make it officially that the game stopped at that time, less than 10 minutes back. And I know that the field is, you cannot play the field the next day, you cannot play the field the next 1 week. In fact, they abandoned the field, I think, more than a year. I'm talking about Gombada actually. The stadium been left behind for the whole year, and as Mr. Talal mentioned, and as per AFC bullets shown earlier, when I checked from our manual, it's the same thing. In fact, MFL or FM followed the same AFC regulation on game stop due to whatever reason. And the game, they play back the game about a month later, see. So during that 1 month, the team has played maybe 4 or 5 times. They have red card, they have players injured. So after that, when I stopped the game, we discussed about this issue, see. Luckily for me, that the game stopped at the very early of the very early of the game. It's only 10 minutes. What happened if the game left with 5 minutes? 5 minutes left. Now, what happened if the two teams very far away? One is somewhere in Penang, Kedah, and the other one is maybe Sabah. Do they have to go back 1 month later just to continue with the 5 minutes left? This is not stated in the manual. I feel that the organizer, whether FAM or MFL, should put that guidelines clearly in the manual. In case of, let's say, if the game stop with less than 5 minutes or less than 10 minutes. And if the team is, whether any team win or lose won't make any decision because they are both of them way down the list or whatever. They clearly put that statement in the manual so that the team won't argue, see. They can make decision, okay, when they say, oh, why not the referee just toss the coin and we decide who win this particular game. So I personally feel that guidelines must be put in the written form, in the manual, so that we don't have argument on this issue. Back to you, Abang.
Thank you, Wahid. I believe we are the one who have to change our regulation because the chance and the possibility for such a thing to happen is very, very high in Malaysia due to the weathers and whatnot.
Yeah.
This could be an alien to Jeff. Jeff, I mean, must be listening. My goodness, what's happening? But this is a common thing to happen in Malaysia, Jeff. All right. Similarly, in Singapore, I believe, just had a lightning a few minutes ago. If this happened in Singapore, everything will freeze. So what are you going to do? Everything is stopped. Okay, just to wrap up on this topic 3. Of course, we have our friend here, a dedicated friend from AFC, our Sifu. Whenever we had our AFC match commissioner seminar, he will be the one who's going to guide us, I tell you. Brian, back to you, sir.
Okay, thank
Brian,
you, Abang.
Before you start, Brian, there's a statement that I wish to share with you, with everyone, in fact. Okay. To the general viewers, please take note. AFC is an institution that has the luxury to gather and assemble all the great minds of Asian football. This is a fact. The best football administrator all over Asia has been put together under one roof by AFC. And I'm pretty sure with the great mind within AFC, they'll be able to come up with reasons, they'll be able to come up with guidelines, they'll be able to come up with directions. And we are very fortunate because we are very, very close indeed. AFC is not an organization that having that closed door policy. They are very, very open. You ask questions to them, you refer them, even at midnight, you give them a call. I had problem during one of the FIFA World Cup matches in Manila, 1 o'clock in the morning, I give them a call, they come back to me. We managed to sort it out, everything. So salute to you, Brian, and the rest of you guys in the AFC. You have been brilliant, you have been fantastic. Okay, back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Abang. Okay, if you allow me, before we reach the part on replay or recommencement of abandoned match, let me explain a little bit in a simple term about match abandonment. Match abandonment is the match has started. Some incident happened. For example, lightning, flooded pitch, broken goal, floodlight failure. Then the referee might stop the match for 30 minutes. During these 30 minutes, the referees may decide if the match can commence within the 30 minutes. Means we are going to fix the light, or we are going to fix the goalpost, or maybe we will wait for a while for the rain to stop. So if the situation does not improve, the referee will wait for another 30 minutes. This is the second 30 minutes. So during the second 30 minutes, if the referee still think the match cannot be replayed, cannot continue, so he will declare the match is abandoned. So we have this 30 and 30 rules. It is not like something happened and straight away the referees make a decision to abandon the match. And if we check the FIFA World Cup 2010 regulations, actually it mentioned if the match cannot resume, so due to a force majeure, match maybe need to be replayed. So FIFA only introduced these regulations from 2012, where the match shall resume where it stops with the same scoreline and so on. So following FIFA in 2013, AFC adopt the same regulations. So now back to the question, what will be the mechanism taken by AFC to manage abandoned match? Now the quick question we will ask will be whether rescheduling the match is necessary or feasible. So we have to know why we need to resume or why not we continue reschedule the match. We have to look at the importance of the match. If this is a knockout phase match, let's say it is to decide the champion, of course, even if only left with 5 minutes, we have to resume the match. But if it's a home and away match where first leg is already 4-0 to one team, and the second leg, Team A, again, they are leading by 3-0. We only have 30 minutes left. So maybe we will make a decision, no way that the Team B will score 8 goals, and so on. So these are the questions that we are going to ask. Whether rescheduling the match is necessary or feasible. So when, if we want to reschedule the match, when the best time will be the next day, immediately, as soon as possible. The reason is simple, because we have to field the same player. If we postpone the match for another week or another month, maybe the player will be sanctioned in one of the matches in between, or maybe the player will be ineligible, he is injured. So the key point will be, we have to field the same player when the match was abandoned. So other points will be fair play, and also if further delay, we may have other financial implications where the teams have to fly back to their hometown and maybe they'll come back again. So these are some of the considerations we need to take into consideration. Okay, I hope I explained my part. Back to you, Abang.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Now, it's nearly 1 hour. We first started, I didn't realize that. Now we are moving to the topic number 4. This will be the main topic of the day. Law 10 on how to determine the outcome of a match. All right, what you have seen on the screen is actually the extracted provision or the sub-article 2 of the Law 10, where FIFA has decided on the 3 methods to decide the outcome of the game. First is by way of applying away goals rule. Second, extra times. And of course, the final one shall be penalty kick. Penalty from the penalty, kicks taken from the penalty mark. But our focus of discussion today will be mainly on the application of away goal rules. Now we move to the second slide, gentlemen. Right. What is shown on this, the application of the away goal rules was not stated clearly under the law, whether it is applicable within the normal playing period of 90 minutes or to be extended to the extra time period if the results still remain tie. Based on the current practice, FIFA implements the away goal rules even up to the extra time period. All right, so if the match ends after the normal playing time of 90 minutes, after you apply the first away goals rule, is still no decision, then you goes into the match will go into the extra time where the away goal will be further extended. Unfortunately, FC chose to limit it to the normal playing period of 90 minutes. So if you see the 2 applications, FIFA's and AFC have 2 different application and understanding of the laws of the rules of competition. Of course, this is allowed by the law, because the law did not touch the duration up to which extent and whatnot. That is depending on the competition of the rules. So basically, this is what we have been discussing now. Now, if we look into what has been properly applied throughout Asia, we have a look at AFF Suzuki Cup. AFF has been adopting the FIFA's way in the running of the AFF Suzuki Cup, where the away goal rules will be extended up to the extra time. Now, just for the record, all competitions under the Football Association of Malaysia fully adopted the procedure used by AFC. But please bear in mind, the league operator of Malaysia, the Malaysian Football League, formerly known as MFL, this is where Wahid is actually serving as a match commissioner, is more comfortable with the procedure taken by FIFA. So even in Malaysia, there are 2 methods of applying the away goal rules. One, the FM way, that is FC ways in originally, and then one, what has been applied by MFL following the FIFA's way. Now, this will be a very interesting topic entirely. We would like to see what the panelists will have to say. Let us start again with my brother from Korea, Jeff, on the away goal rules.
Yes, regarding the away goal, as we have only one chance to apply these rules, playoff for promotion and relegation. So, in conclusion, we follow AFC way. So not applicable for the extra time. So we believe that also KFA for the knockout cup final is same, not applicable for away goal in extra time. We believe that in the home and away matches, the 90 minutes itself is very equal and fair. However, second league's extra time is already out of normal playing time. So if we apply away goal on this extra time, so it is too much advantage for the away team. So KFA and K League, we adopt no application for the away goals on extra time in the home and away games. That second league's the extra time. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Jeff. We share the same opinion on this. Right. Datuk Ong Kim Swee. Datuk, see what you have to say, Datuk. From the coaching perspective, Datuk, what would be your ideal choice between the two procedures? The FIFA's way or the AFC's way? Don't tell me the FM way, so no, we don't have any.
I totally agree with Park, where of course if you carry the away goals toward extra time, definitely it won't be fair for the home team, where you need to finish the game in 90 minutes or whatever result it is. And at the same time, I believe that we in Malaysia, we should follow the AFC way, where every tournament that we go, doesn't matter, it's age group tournament or even Asia AFC Cup or Champions League, the same rules is applied. So all the teams in Malaysia should understand that after extra time, during extra time, there's no away goals.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. Of course, I'm going to go back to Brian, but before that, I have to share something with you, Brian. Of course, the rest of the panelists. Brian, this is how I look at things. I would say that every league in Asia, okay, is actually the preliminary or the qualifying stage of the FC club competition. Because the League of Asia, be K League, be the M League, be whatever league you call it, their target is to qualify to your competitions. Okay, this is the fact about the whole thing. No one would like to go elsewhere. You know, furthermore, they can't go elsewhere anyway. All right, they will have to play their heart out just to be part of your club competition. That's the fact. Okay, your competition has been great. In order to avoid confusion and to ensure uniformity in terms of applications of rules, do you think it is only appropriate for all the leagues in Asia to adopt the FC rules? Not every single provision, but the important provisions such as away goal rules, the amendment of the match, the number of name substitutes, on how you deal with all these methods, it should have been applied and be adopted by all leagues within Asia in order to have consistency right from the bottom up to the top. But of course, before that, you have to explain your opinion in terms of away goal rules. And over to you, Brian.
Okay, again, thank you, Abang. So the away goal rules only applicable for home and away knockout phase matches. For example, the AFC Champions League quarterfinal, semi-final, and the final matches. Same for AFC Cup. AFC Cup quarterfinal, semi-final, or the zonal semi-final now, only applicable for those stages. The key reason AFC does not follow the FIFA or the UEFA method is because we feel that the away goal rules is extended to extra time. The club that hosts the second leg will be in a disadvantaged position, like explained by Jeff Park. So the football match in the first leg is always 90 minutes. Second leg, it can be 90 or 120 minutes. So if we have extra time, it is a burden, a big pressure for the hosting club of the second leg to play the additional 30 minutes where the away goal will count as double. And whether to play the first leg, the host the first leg or the second leg is usually by the luck of draw. So if we keep the away goal rules to only 90 minutes as regular time, the extra time can be seen as a neutral ground. So this is our point. And back to your questions, Abang, whether AFC will request or enforce its member associations or leagues to follow or to adopt AFC method, AFC will leave it to the member associations or to the professional body to decide what is best for them. We will not enforce or we will not request the MA to follow our approach. This will be our stand.
All right. I think I have the reason why I asked you that question, because Colonel Goutam should be able to comment on this. The officials involved in managing the game, officiating the game, probably will be the same officials that will be officiating the local games. You know? So having two different set of rules, one is applying FIFA, the other one is applying AFC, you know, it could be involving the same team, it could be involving the same match officials. This could create a lot of confusion. And with the match being shown live over TV, with no proper explanation being done like what we did today, everybody will always say that, oh, that should be the way, this is wrong, that's the way, no, this is wrong, these people just simply do as they like. You know, so these are the few things that probably we have to consider. Colonel Goutam, what your final words here, sir?
In my opinion, you know, it's like this. If a regular, because the referee who is supervising a village level match or his district level or state level match will be supervising national level matches also, and the same referee will be going for FSA, AFC, FIFA regulation. So I think it will be better that if everything is streamlined in one way only, 90 minutes or 120 minutes. Yes, of course, as Bayan said and Park said, that to be fair, 90 minutes is away goal rule applies, and thereafter it is only 30 minutes. Whoever scores or whoever wins goes through, no away goal rules. That is also one point of view. But in my opinion, I'm okay with any of the regulation, but it should be straight, simple, and applicable to every matches which is held in the world, not in Asia alone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Colonel. All right, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. We have concluded our first half of the webinar, and now we are going to take a short break for commercial. Stay tuned for the second half.
Sama-sama hanya di kaulah impianku, sama-sama sempurnanya di kau buat diriku, indah kehidupan dan memudahkan sama-sama, indah kehidupan dan memudahkan sama-sama.
Right, there you have it, Jeff. A product from Korea, Kuku, who is our partner here in Malaysia. Okay, gentlemen, before the end of today's session, FNM will have to pick selected question posted by our viewers and to be answered and explained by you guys. If time is on our side, I will try to make sure that one question every one of you will be able to give your opinion to one question. Otherwise, I have to pick who among you will have to answer that particular question. All right. So please allow me to assess this question from time to time. Now, allow me to revert to our viewers, or Malaysian viewers in particular, for a while. And of course, I have to speak in the national language of Malaysia. Jeff, Talal, Colonel Goutam, please bear with me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat petang saya ucapkan kepada semua yang mengikuti webinar ini. Sekejap lagi soalan akan disiarkan oleh FM yang memerlukan respon daripada anda semua. Di penghujung sesi ini nanti, saya akan berkongsi hasil undian yang telah dikumpul dan di samping itu sekiranya anda ada soalan yang memerlukan penjelasan lanjut daripada panel kita yang hadir pada petang ini, sila kemukakan kesoalan anda. Pastikan soalan berkenaan relevan dengan topik yang sedang dibincangkan pada hari ini, iaitu berkisarkan kepada penerapan undang-undang permainan dalam peraturan pertandingan. Tertakluk juga kepada tempoh masa yang ada, kita mungkin terpaksa memilih beberapa soalan sahaja yang akan dikemukakan kepada panel yang hadir. Kerana kita cuma ada tinggal 47 minit sahaja baki kepada webinar kita pada petang ini. Selaku moderator, saya akan merujuk kepada panel yang bersesuaian untuk memberi maklum balas ke atas setiap soalan yang telah dipilih. InsyaAllah, walau bagaimanapun, insyaAllah kita akan berusaha untuk memberi maklum balas kepada semua soalan yang tidak terpilih melalui kaedah yang lain. Sekian, harap maklum. Now, gentlemen, let us proceed to our second part of the application of the laws of the game in the competition rules. Topic number 5. We have 7 topics in total. Now, we're moving into topic number 5. We go backward a bit. We're going to touch on the law 1, field of play. Sub-article 12, commercial advertising. Right. This is a very clear provision by the law that stated no form of commercial advertising, whether real or visual, is permitted on a field of play, on the ground within the area enclosed by the goal nets, the technical area or the referee review area, or on the ground within 1 meter of the boundary lines. All right, so let us focus on the one in bold, the statement in bold, on the ground within 1 meter of the boundary lines. So the boundary lines in this sense cover both the goal line as well as the touch line. We move to the second slide, please. This is a fact. If you look at the screen right now, this is what's happening in today's football. All right? Football has evolved tremendously over the years, where the commercial element has played a vital role in the development of the game. In the most sought-after league, if you look at the English Premier League, you look at the La Liga, perhaps one day it could be Chinese Super League or even K-League, we can witness more and more of visual advertising being displayed. The example can be seen from these 3 images. The 2 on your right and the one at the bottom. Okay, now the question is, okay, please observe the images carefully. All right, the advertising board, whether it is real or visual, I can't tell you from here, but from the look of it, it's not beyond 1 meter from the goal line, but in fact it is actually within the 1 meter from the goal line. Talal, obviously you are the selected panel to deliberate on the issue. The law is very clear on the matters that relate to the commercial advertising on the field of play, in particular the area within the 1 meter of the boundary lines. Shall we, or rather are we in the position to compromise this provision, knowing the law is universally binding? Law is still law. Please, I hand it over to you, Talal.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, a very important topic, and I believe all of us aware and fully agree that commercial rights and income is a crucial resource that contributed effectively for football governing body, confederations, member associations, and clubs. As such, A special and careful attention shall be paid to all relevant aspects for so many reasons. In order to secure the sponsoring as well as attracting more commercial partners to invest in the game, and at the same time ensuring the protection of the game and proper exploitation of the rights to avoid any disciplinary action, as well as refraining from anything that might jeopardize the safety and security factor, as well as the image of the game and the rights, duties. For having said that, there is a number of considerations that has to be taken. It is 1 meter as per the laws of the game. In my opinion, may not be compromised for a shorter distance. However, the MA in its own competitions may use greater distance. I give example in Jordan, advertisement boards in domestic league behind the goals are more than 10 meters behind the goal. However, when there is an official match, more than 10 meters behind the goal. However, in any official match under auspices of FIFA or AFC, it is back within the normal, which is as per the competition operations manual, 4 meter behind. And sometimes we calculate from behind the net exactly to ensure that there is the exclusive zone for the remote cameras, which is placed before the match. Anyway, there is, as I said, there is a number of considerations that need careful attention, such as the safe and secure distance from the lines to avoid any possible injuries. We have also the warm-up of substitutes, and as we all know, if it is behind the goal, 6 players plus 2 officials. If it is behind assistant referee 1, it is 3 plus 1, and I'm sure the coaching side would prefer to have 6 players to warm up behind the goal. To consider also the position of the ball bearers, photographers, HB cameras, and sometimes it is very important to know that there is a number of security in some venues in big numbers has to exist in that zone behind the goals, and sometimes in behind the touch lines. Also, there is very important aspect is to coordinate with the host broadcaster to ensure the crossbar will not be blocking the angle of the main camera, mainly for the advertisement boards behind the goal within the diameter of the goal itself. As such, this is important requirement by the HB, which involve the general coordinator and or match commissioner to consider the space between the goal net. I even, without mentioning any names, have this issue, and it was a crucial decision to decide the warm-up equation because of this matter. For the information, the area surrounding the field of play, it is called in the stadium regulations the auxiliary area. In this regard, it is good to know that the size of the whole field will be 125 by 85. The KPI in this regard, I would like to say that member association and or club must have the field of play back in its standard condition prior to any official match that is organized under AFC or FIFA as of match day -2. Also, something which I believe all of us agree here, for any new idea that is planned by the marketing department in any member association, it is crucial to notify the relevant confederation at least 10 days before, because as you know, when we arrive match day -2, time constraint is really something that need careful attention. And till now, all I can say that we still have new ideas up until 2 hours before the match. Therefore, the proper scheduling of any marketing ideas in this regard and the early notification actually will solve. The summary from my side that the 1 meter is not to be shorter than that, greater up to the member association. However, things to be back in standard position for any match played under the auspices of FIFA and AFC. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Talal. Before we go to Brian, Jeff, you would like to share anything based on your experience in Korea? You know, how is it done in Korea actually?
Yes, we are implementing also that kind of advertising. Yes, I can say it is less than 1 meter from the end line. So, but we believe that this material is not so dangerous. It's very flex. It's like just the banner of that kind of things. It's not so dangerous. That's why we put it, even though 1 meter, the minimum 1 meter is the preferable. However, we will do as same as like the tournament in Europe.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Okay, now Brian, the law also clearly prohibit any form of commercial advertising on the technical area. You know, I presume this provision covers the team benches as well. So team benches has to be part of the technical area. Am I right? However,
Yes.
there are quite a number of competitions that actually display an element of commercial advertising, even on the roof of the team benches. So what is your view on this?
Okay, nowadays, the commercial partners or the sponsors are one very important stakeholders in football. While we need to satisfy their requirement, we also need to ensure everything is in accordance to the required law and regulations. So the key is the safety of the players, match officials, and any personnel working around the areas. So if we're talking about having sponsor logos on the technical area, I believe this is more on the league. For national team, it's strictly prohibited. So maybe in the league, it should be drawn very clearly on the regulations whether it is allowed or not. We have seen in overseas leagues in Europe and so on, they even have some sponsors. Next to the team bench or maybe inside the team bench. So I believe this is also back to the management of the league.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I think if the ideas here, you know, we have an ideas that there are certain things that we have done so far with the league or in the competition, even though it is actually contradict with the provision of the laws of the game. But if it doesn't cause any harm to the players, to the spectators, or it doesn't have any significant impact to the match itself, perhaps we should put forward some proposal to FIFA to relook back into this provision under the laws so that it can allow such commercial advertising to be put forward. All right, gentlemen, thank you for your comment on that. Now we move to our second last topic. That is the players' equipment as stated under the Law 4. If you look at the sub-article 3 of the said laws, now let us focus on the following provisions. The two teams must wear colors that distinguish them from each other and the match official. This is very much relevant. It's very much relevant and similar to the topic number 5, the one that we have discussed just now. So if we touch on the undershirts, it says that a single color, which is the same color as the main color of the shirt sleeve, or a pattern or colors which exactly replicate the shirt sleeve. And the undershorts or tights must be same color as the main color of the shorts or the lowest part of the shorts. So players of the same team must wear the same color. This is what the law says. I go back to what I said to Talal just now. Whether you like it or not, law is still law. Even though this provision may not be seen to have a significant impact on the mesh, but hey, it is still a law. Now we move to the fact of the law. The next slide, please. Okay, now the three images I'm sharing with you. If you look at it carefully, all right, look at the one at the bottom. This is our guidance at the FAM level. We have sample A, B, C, D, E, and F. The sample A is allowed under the laws of the game because the undershirt sleeve is replicate the same main color of the sleeve of the jersey. And if you look at the undershorts, it pick the major color, one of the color on the shorts. So you have a choice to pick at the gray or blue. So if you look at B, it is still allowed because the top still remain the same between A and B, but the undershorts for B is blue. It is still allowed under the law. Likewise is C, D, and E. The only images here which is not allowed by the law is F. Right? F will be quite odd because the jersey have two different color on the sleeve. One on the right hand side of the sleeve is yellow. The left hand side of the left side of the sleeve is blue. So the undershirts has to be one yellow and one blue because it has to replicate the color of the main sleeve. So the top is fine. The bottom is not acceptable because the shirt comprises of two different major colors. There's one blue, and one is yellow. So the undershirt has to be at the yellow or blue. Now, if you look at the Dele Alli images wearing English national team colors, the sleeve of the jersey is actually a light blue, sky blue, but the undershirt is slightly different than the major color of the sleeve. Likewise is Ronaldo. If you look at the jersey worn by Ronaldo, Juventus at one time, they used to have two different colors on the sleeve. One is white, the other one is black. So basically, under the provision of the latest law, not really latest, it has been there for the past few years, the undershirt has to be replicated with the major color of the sleeve. So the right hand side of Ronaldo's undershirt has to be black. The left hand side has to be white. Now, Goutam, you are the master of this, being a director of referees yourself. Will you agree if I put to you that not too much focus has been given to the correct colors of the undershirts and undershorts? Is there any way that the competition rules or any other regulatory documents, such as equipment regulations, need to be further enhanced to ensure this provision is well protected? Back to you, sir.
I think we are giving too much of importance for this, though the law is very clear. So far, so long referee is concerned, he will go as per the laws of the game, right? So what Ronaldo is wearing, he will be politely told, please change it, because this is not as per the laws of the game. And without undershirts also, player can play. Notwithstanding that, there is every league, established league I'll talk about, they have their team colors, their shorts, including the undershirt color, decided before every match. That is what is being done in all the top leagues. Still, there are cases, I don't deny, that there is a more of a circumventing the regulation than following it. There's another major thing, that there is no regulation which tells the team officials color. So team officials comes with any color they feel like. But again, the established leagues, they have the standardized pattern that the bench officials will wear this color, this color. So this will come under the competition regulation. This will not come under the laws of the game. Laws of the game specifically states what you have exactly said, Abang. And what referee can do is as a last moment, he can ask them to change it. If they don't change, he will not allow the player to take part, and that is what the laws of the game says. Now it's up to the team whether they follow the regulation or they not follow it. Back to you, Abang.
Yeah, thank you, Colonel. I think you have raised a good point here. Well, I mean, the law is very clear on that, but there's also a gray area within the law that also need to be clearly defined. So the law clearly defined the two teams must wear colors that distinguish them from each other and the match officials. This is what it says. However, nothing is mentioned about the choice of colors for the person who is authorized to convey tactical instructions from the technical area. So this guy will be standing all the time during the match, all right, giving instruction, which is obviously visible to the match officials, in particular, the assistant referee too. Am I right? So, you know, with this kind of movement from the match, from the team official giving instruction, his color will also have to be properly determined in order to avoid clash with the players on the field of play, as well as the rest of the match officials. So I'm pretty sure, I agree with what Colonel have said. This has not been provided for by the laws of the game. So the rules of competition will have to take this into consideration and to be abide by the team concerned. Right. Time and time again, most of this issue has been addressed on case-to-case basis. And Wahid, my friend here,
Yes, sir.
Wahid, do you think a lot of things need to be further improved in our competition rules, you know, in order to curb all these issues, or in order to protect the laws of the game? Otherwise, we being the custodian of football, you know, the Football Association, the AFCs, the Korean Football Association, we will be seen as a party who failed to protect the laws of the game. Leave it to back to you, Wahid.
Thank you, Abang. As what mentioned by Colonel earlier, referee will strictly follow the FIFA rules. No two way about it. So, as a match organizer, this issue must be stressed during the preliminary stage to the all involved players, coaches, so that this issue won't arise. See, just imagine if suddenly Ronaldo comes with that type of jersey, you think that you can delay the game so that he change his sleeve and get the right one? So to me, this issue must be addressed right from the start, and the referee have to. Normally, referee will strictly follow the FIFA rules. They have not, as I mentioned earlier, and there's no two way about it. They won't budge from that ruling. So as what Colonel mentioned earlier, I do agree with you, Colonel. Back to you, Abang.
Yeah, Wahid.
Yes.
Going back to what you have said, laws of the game, yes, it has such a provision. But tell me, how many teams actually go through with the laws of the game? Because the perception of football community, laws of the game is a book, a reference books to the referee. You know,
But if you don't,
no, I mean,
if you don't follow, I agree. But if you don't follow the law of the game, there's no game.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you.
Football must be played. Football must be played according to the law of the game.
I agree with you.
Agreed,
I would rather, Wahid,
Yes.
go for prevention rather than to wait on a match day to get it done. So because of that, I say the competition rules must also spell it specifically, so that the team who's actually referring to the competition rules, yes, exactly. So you don't have to wait for the referee to enforce and exercise all those silly provision on the match day. All right. Now,
it must be stipulated.
Exactly.
I mean, it must be stipulated directly in the manual.
Exactly. Now, we move to the last topic, the final topic. We have exactly 25 minutes to go. The players, law 3, the players. This is quite a straightforward topics, right? Where's the slide? Topic number 3, topic number 7, law 3, the players. A match is played by two teams, each with a maximum of 11 players. One must be a goalkeeper. This is obvious. A match may not start or continue if either team has fewer than 7 players. So if one of the team fielded only 6 players before the start of the match will not be able to start at all. Likewise, if the match has already commenced, halfway through, one of the team, for whatever reason, end up having less than 7 players. Once the ball is out of play, then the referee will have to stop the game, abandon the game, and decision has to be taken to decide the outcome of the match. All right. So this is what the law says. The competition rules. If we look into the application of the competition rules, the second slide, please. The approach taken by FC is quite interesting. Now, we look at the first 2 articles. The first article on top is actually an extract from the article 8.3 of the Competitions Operation Manual of FC, all right, which stated that if a match is stopped by the referee before the end of normal playing time, for the reason that has been spelled out earlier on, then, the participating team who is able to field more than 7 participating players shall be declared the winner by the score of 3-0 or the score at the time of abandonment, whichever is higher. This caters for the match that has already started. Now, if you look into the FC Cup regulation as per Article 14 and 15, which stipulate on the 2 steps taken by FC, and in both situations, the FC committees will have to make a call. The first one, in the case of force majeure, cancel, the match cannot play for whatever reason, then the FC competition will have to make a decision. Any match which is cancelled, except in the cases of force majeure recognized by FC, probably will have to go to FC disciplinary and ethics committee against the relevant party. Now, gentlemen, our focus now will be on the match that has yet to start. I know again, in Korea, now I'm going to ask you this question again, your answer will be the same. It never happened in Korea, Jeff. All right, but never mind. I just want to seek for your professional view on this. All right. It is quite a straightforward situation if the match is already started, as most competition rules do have similar provision as AFCs. In the event one of the team failed to fill the minimum number of players, that is less than 7. Say we talk about the underage competition and whatnot, right? Before the start of the match, what is the approach taken? The right approach that needs to be taken. Are we going to bring it back to the committee to decide, or will there be is it appropriate for the competition rule itself to have a specified provision, a specific provision to address this situation? Yeah, Jeff.
Yes, as you said already, today's question to given me is very interesting, as those are not happened before in Korea. Okay, also, we don't have the rules fits on it, actually. But we have similar rule on our competition regulation. In principle, at K-League matches, team should arrive 100 minutes before kickoff under the competition regulation. If any team failed to arrive until 40 minutes before kickoff, team should inform to match commissioner with the reason and a new estimated arrival time to the stadium. If then, MC need to discuss with all stakeholders for kickoff changing. If the kickoff time changes, it should be informed to the public. But if whole one team do not show up at the stadium at all, opponent team need to wait 45 minutes at least. After 45 minutes, the team do not show up, the match will be declared as forfeited and disciplinary sanction will be given. Okay, back to the question. If the numbers of the players are fewer than 7 at the time of kickoff, even though there's no regulation in K-League, but our approach will be not allowing to play. The reason is integrity of the game. If we think about the reason why FIFA laws of the game stated fewer than 7, that means maybe the match should bear integrity and dignity. So our policy will not be allowing to play. We will apply 45 minutes rule to see the number of players to be more than 7, but preferably 9 or 10. It is because during the match with less players, if injury happens, maybe no replacements for the team. If then the number of players again fewer than 7, match should be stopped again. It looks so ridiculous. We cannot find any integrity of the match. So, conclusion is even though we don't have the regulation fixed on it, our approach is not to play, not to allow the playing if the fewer than 7 at the beginning, at the time of the kickoff.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. The interesting point raised by you is that I call it the arrival time, the arrival period of 100 minutes, and you have by 40 minutes minus 40. If the team failed to turn up, then I mean that is fantastic. That is something that we ought to look at from the.
Yeah, that's our local rules. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Now, Brian, you have been silent for the past few minutes. Now it's your turn to say something about it, Brian. For situations such as this, what sort of decision that AFC Competition Committee may possibly tax? Brian?
Okay, thank you, Abang. Actually, I was expecting you to ask me question on number 7 and number 6. Anyway, we skip that part. Now we have two situations. If a team fail to field 7 or more players for the match, if the match has started, it will be abandoned match. So the scoreline will stay or 3-0, whichever is higher. But if the match haven't started, so in AFC regulation, actually we have a provision under article number 6. We take it as withdrawal after the commencement of the competition, which reads any participating club that fail to report for the match shall be considered to have withdrawn from the competition after its commencement. So all the previous matches will be cancelled, considered as null and void. So we have this provision to cover. Any team that fail to report for a match, it will be considered as withdraw from the competition. I mean, like other competitions, we request teams usually to come at the stadiums at least latest by minus 90 minutes before the match starts. So in all competitions, usually we have a liaison officers. We have contact of the team manager. We always keep contact with the team managers and the liaison officers to ask them of their position, location, before they arrive to the stadium. If there's any delay, they will report to us immediately. So AFC is always aware of the location of both teams.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Now we're going to take a break, the final break before we move to the Q&A. If there's any, I've yet to receive any feedback from the technical team. Now, thank you, gentlemen. We have completed our webinar session, and now we are taking another short break. Then after that, once I have the question from the viewers, I will share it again with you. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, I have 6 questions here. The first question, probably I need to, this question says, adakah penggunaan VAR akan memperbaiki implementasi LOTG? LOTG stands for laws of the game. In English, it says, can the use of VAR improve the implementation of the laws of the game? All right, we start with Talal Goutam.
Well, the VAR was introduced with a lot of trials and a lot of, I will say, the field trials and small tournaments, and then it was introduced into the bigger tournaments. I'm not going into all those details of the experimental stage. and whatever flaws which was found by the people who were involved in the experimental stage has been set right. A protocol was sent by FIFA. A protocol was made by FIFA, and then referees were trained particularly under simulation, also under the live match. So I'll say the VAR is not a one-off thing. It is going to stay and stay forever with the football at the highest level. Also, slowly, gradually, it is penetrating at the lower level, and also not very or not so very popular leagues. Also, it is being implemented, because VAR really gives you a second option to the referee in decision making, and there are only very few places where the referees have committed mistake. Even the VAR, of course, wherever the human is there, there will be error, but the error percentage comes down drastically. Maybe one odd percentage of error will still be there, but VAR is the future. It's going to stay. We have to look forward for the football's growth. Abang?
Okay, thank you, Colonel. But VAR is such an expensive exercise to be used at the local league and whatnot. But then again, we have to bring in partners. To bring in commercial partners, you need to adjust your laws of the game to allow them to come in within the 1 meter boundaries. All right, the second question goes to Talal. But Talal, do you think football will see a decrease in attendance at the stadiums post COVID-19?
That's tough.
Can you repeat again? I didn't hear you.
Okay. Do you think football will see a decrease in attendance at stadiums post COVID-19, after COVID-19? Will the spectators decrease?
Actually, first of all, we are optimistic for the future. And none of us can answer such a question. But my opinion that things are improving slowly, okay? Maybe there are certain practices that can be followed with regard to distancing, okay? So distancing in the stands, meaning less number of attendees versus the actual capacity of the stadium. Yet, not very soon and gradually, hopefully the number will be increasing. I give example in Jordan, we will be starting our league in August, restarting, and till now, we are not allowing, there is no decision to allow any spectators. There is some scenarios to allow 30% of the stadium capacity. So we're talking about something that is linked to the COVID-19, and let us say, hopefully, there will be an effective medication. Till now, only certain procedures, for sure, full house stadiums will not be there very soon.
Okay, thank you, Talal. Thank you for your honest answer. Now, I go to Jeff. Brother Jeffrey. Jeff,
Yes.
should the laws of the game be changed annually? Or do we have to give it over a period of time? Otherwise, every year, if you keep on changing the laws of the game, you tend to get yourself confused. So, what's your say about it?
Yeah, it is real that as the laws of the game changes every year, so in the beginning of the season, we have to study what was changing, what was still going on. However, I think in order to see more trendy football, and if we think about the regulation or laws of the game need to be changed for the following the trendy football, I think once a year, twice a year, it doesn't matter. The important thing is to recognize the changes and right application from the referee. If then they're all. So I think always supportive to change everything if the direction is right going on.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Right. Final question to Brian. Brian, you're the man. Should fans knows and understand the application of both the laws of the game and the competition rules? Both. In your opinion.
Okay. The laws of the games and the competition rules are two different set of documents. I believe in total, they will be around maybe 200 pages. So if you request all the fans to read or understand everything, it will be very tough for them. But of course, it will be more enjoyable to watch the match if they know the basic regulations and the laws of the game, the basic parts. So they don't need to remember or understand everything, but maybe they can pick up some of the key points, like the system, the format of the competitions, and so on. But one thing that maybe the fans can try to pick up is, I mean, I'm coming from the perspective of organizations or the operations. Maybe it's good for them to know why we do this and why we do that and so on. These are some of the items that maybe FAM can share with the football fans in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Not only having the regulations, but try to explain the reason behind of each regulations in a simple term that they can understand.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I always believe in that. You know, the law, it says spirit behind the laws, and perhaps now we also need to consider the spirit behind the rules. I totally agree. Once you understand the rules better, the reason behind it, you know, you'll be able to interpret it better than understanding just the pure statement. I agree with you. Thank you, gentlemen. Datuk, one last question to you, Datuk. Wahid, you can skip this one, eh? Datuk, do you think we are prepared to start with our national teams competition this year?
Maksud,
you know, are we prepared to start with our national team competition this year? After this COVID-19, some of the country have yet to open, some of the country has already opened, you know, some can bring in fans, some cannot. Do you seriously think that we should start having our national team competition this year?
Yeah, based on the situation in our country, I don't think we shouldn't start. We should start as soon as possible, where there will be a lot of opportunities. Where we know that towards the end of the year, we have a lot of tournament is coming, especially our World Cup qualifiers and even probably Suzuki Cup. So there's no reason I can see that with the current situation in Malaysia, we shouldn't start.
We shouldn't. We should
start. We should start.
Even when no fans is allowed to come to the stadium.
Yep. Of course, we need to follow the SOP, what the government allowed us. And as long as the players got a chance to play against or to compete against each other, definitely it will benefit the national team, where we are preparing for our World Cup qualifier and Suzuki Cup towards the end of the year.
All right, looking forward to that. Then I'll get my appointment as well from Brian. Okay, gentlemen. All right, basically we have done with our webinar today. Thank you, gentlemen. But before we end with our session, I need to share with you the polling that we had. The question says something like this: should the 5 substitute rule remain and be made permanent? You know, the 5 substitute rules, the temporary rules allowed by FIFA, shall we make it permanent? So this is what we have from the general public, general opinion. 60% say we should make it permanent. 40% say we should maintain the three substitution. We should remain status quo. Gentlemen, we are coming to the end of our webinar. The discussion has been very fruitful, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm sure a lot of uncertainties have been cleared through the explanation and experience shared by our panelists in the last 2 hours. Let us hope the outcome from this webinar will properly guide our competition organizers better in the near future. This is the first ever competition webinar by FAM, and I hope this will not be the last. Before we call it off, on behalf of our beloved FAM President, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Haji Hamidin bin Haji Muhammad Amin, who celebrated his 2nd year in the office 2 days ago, and the Executive Committee member of FAM, of course, Mr. Stuart Ramalingam, the General Secretary of FAM, all of my colleagues in the FAM General Secretariat who has been working tirelessly for the past weeks to assist me in the topics and questions, which have made your life quite difficult, and not forgetting the technical team behind this webinar. We would like to register our big thank to Mr. Brian C. Brian, thank you very much, Brian. Terima kasih, Brian. Talal, shukran Talal. Jeff, I don't know how to say it in Korean. Anyway, nevertheless, thank you.
Kamsahamnida.
Hello, Goutam. Thank
Just
you,
a smile.
Kanal. Send my
Okay.
regard to Mindu Dorji.
Sure.
Yang Berbahagia Datuk Ong Kim Swee. Thank you, Datuk, for being here. You know, I know he's the type of person who don't like to remain in one session for more than 1 hour, but today I forced him to remain with us for 2 hours straight. And of course, not forgetting Mr. Abdul Wahid. It's a pleasure to have you here, Wahid. You know, this will be the first step of us, consolidating our opinion between the international superstar and the local one that we have here today. You guys have been fantastic and brilliant, gentlemen. And I hope you will not hesitate to accept our future invitation. Today marked another winning way to football development in Malaysia. And of course, as you know, he played one of the songs, not until the next hello, it is not goodbye. Thank you, gentlemen. See you again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.